Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. We are here to revisit Shazam, not the one we just did, but Shazam Original Flavor 2019.
So to be clear, we are revisiting Shazam 1 after we've watched Shazam 2.
Yeah.
A second claim. That was purposefully unclear. But yeah, that's where we're at today. It's going to be a good episode, I think.
Let's hope so. All right, let's I don't know. You know what? I think at first when I was rewatching, like for the first 5 minutes or so, I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is way better than the second one. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it is undoubtedly a better made movie, but it's not like I like the second one more. I find the second one more fun for me. I
agree.
I think if just get that out of the way right away. I am acknowledging that it feels more like a David F. Sandberg film. And in that sense, it feels like a better made film. But I don't know if that is a better made film that is for me. I think that I kind of dug my heels that what I said about the second movie, in that I had fun and I'm acknowledging all the issues with it. But I think this time I was acutely aware of, as much as I thought they had too many villains in the second movie, I was like, I just feel like this villain means nothing until they meet up at the end of the movie.
Yeah, they absolutely mean nothing until the end. For sure.
I'm enjoying the stuff that's happening with, I never know what his name is. Sorry, but the Mark Strong villain.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, this is interesting. But then you every time you step away from it, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really care what's going on with him. He's just a good actor, so I'm in on his scenes. But I don't miss him when he's gone, or feel like, oh, hey, what's happening with the Dr. Silvano, or whatever his name is. I'm just like,
right.
He comes back and I'm like, oh right, yeah. I guess we'll develop this storyline.
Yeah, I perfectly get what you mean by that, in the sense where I care more of Mark Strong in his scenes than I do of what's actually happening, because I'm just like, okay, well, it's funny because you're both exploring your powers at the same time. You just don't have the funny prepubescent kind of joke aspect of it all. And I'm like, cool, and you're not fun, and you've got this revenge insecurity bit that's driving your kind of thing.
Yeah,
and that's your thing. But I don't care for it's not, I'm never seeing it as a threat. It's just like the statues are and who are manipulating him are like, hey, this is your test, go do this, because he's the one guy that's stronger than you. And
even that stuff was very interesting on paper. Paper, I'm like, oh cool, they're gonna have to figure out a way to get all 7 sins out of him, because he always keeps one in there. And the way that they solve that is also interesting. But it was just kind of in actually watching it, I wasn't as excited as I was of thinking while watching it, hey, this is a good idea. But I wasn't watching it was fun. I was just like, yeah, that's a good idea for a villain. He's powered because of these 7 sins that kind of diverted him away from being the hero. And but then that's kind of where it ends. I'm just like, yeah, good idea.
Yeah, I stand by you on that. The second one, you have more fun, because as they even say in the movie, well, it's a dragon, right?
Yeah.
I
mean, to be clear, completely transparent, I'm always going to be down for when there can be a team up. So also watching the second movie, they're already a team. So it's yeah, great. Keep doing that. More heroes, versus this one where I'm like, can I just get to them getting their powers, please? Because I don't want to wait anymore. I've already I think that was always my issue, is that it never feels like a good time waiting for the end. And I guess I shouldn't even be thinking of it that way of like just waiting till the end. I should just be enjoying it the whole time.
Right. And it's kind of funny because you're right. Ultimately, the end of this movie really goes nowhere. Because even like, what's his face? Freddy even says it. It's just like, you got all these powers, and what did you do? Just like kind of bully people around and take some selfies, and that's about it. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of where I feel by the end of this movie. I had fun. I don't feel disappointed by it. I don't feel offended by it. I just had fun. And I'm like, cool. But the second one, I had more fun because a dragon. And yes, that is shallow of me, but I will say it. That meant something.
Yeah,
a dragon was there. It was
I'm
fun.
aware that this first one is a better made film. It's just not.
Yes.
I don't have as much fun with it, and I feel like if you're doing Shazam, why not have fun? And this also, like, they didn't do Black Adam, so I really and to be fair, if you listen to our episode, I'm pretty sure when we first reviewed Shazam, I was like, oh, Black Adam's never coming out. So it's not like I was like, hey, how come they're not doing that? I was just like, I only know Shazam fighting Black Adam. Like, I don't know why we're wasting time with this Dr. Sylvana guy.
Yeah,
and like setting up Mr. Mind. And when I saw who the villains were for the second movie, I was like, I don't, like, who cares? But like, yeah, like revisiting it, I'm still like, I just even more now, like it feels like it should have been Black Adam because they were like, hey, like we had a champion, but things went wrong. And I'm like, oh,
yes.
like with the knowledge of Black Adam, they're showing you the scene from Black Adam before it was even. I mean, obviously there must have been a script where they knew that would happen, but like they're showing you the moment where he like lost favor with the gods and blew up the temple. Like I'm like, oh, like what? Even more reason why I'm so confused. Why? Well, not any more confused, but frustrated that there's no Black Adam presence in this movie.
It is frustrating because I feel like this movie would be very satisfying to the dozens. I'm joking. The many Shazam fans, and like you just kind of alluded to, we're not it in the sense where I'm like, everything on paper is good about this story, and the harsh rejection. I'm like, I identify with a lot of this stuff, and it makes me feel stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, I had fun. It didn't. There was no sense of threat or scale or anything like that. It was just like, we're learning how to use our powers all at one time. Good for us.
Well, I think what is interesting about the movie, like what works, is that I was about to say something I don't like. I will save that for later. What works, or not works, what is interesting is that, as you said, Freddy points out, like, you're not actually a hero. You just go around doing selfies and like get people to pay to do things for you, like, or for you to do things for them. Like, you're not a real hero. And I find that that's an interesting place to start from with this person who gets powers, because as we talked about, the Zachary Levi performance makes sense. It's like a kid that clearly had power fantasies, and now he's got the power. What's he gonna do with it?
Yeah,
he's going to hit on women. He's going to get beer because now he looks old enough to get it. He's going to be like, oh, you'll pay me to do stuff? Great. This is great. Or do the lightning with my hands in the middle of like the rocky stairs. Like, yeah, that all of that makes sense versus the like not so happy kid that feels powerless and has his mom reject him.
And like, I want to point some fingers at the wizard here, because let's be honest here, the wizard did a bad job, because toward the end it's like, crap, I let this get out of hand and they've chosen someone, so I got to pick someone basically at random right now. It just so happened to be like, didn't pass a test, didn't do like all that kind of stuff that Mark Strong's character had to go through in the beginning. He just got to do something entirely different.
I don't care for.
I
don't care about it. Yeah. I mean, I genuinely do not like it. Like, I'm just like,
exactly. Yeah, like I think it's bad. I think it's poorly.
Like, the trailers make it like, yeah, he got picked because he stuck up for Freddie Freeman. Like, great. I don't need any of the other bullshit. Just, yeah, you picked him for that, and then you realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't have picked a teenager.
Yeah,
perfectly fine. but like the whole like, oh, he's got to find people, and now that gives Dr. Sylvana stuff to do to like talk to all the people who were picked before
Mhm.
Billy. I'm just like, I don't need any of this. This is not interesting to me.
Yeah, none of it's interesting. I'm like, okay, well, here we are, and he doesn't seem to want anything other than just like his daddy issues sorted out. Mark Strong's character,
Which, as
and
I said, is fine because Mark Strong is
Mhm.
playing it well, and I do
Yes.
genuinely like when he goes into the boardroom and he tells his brother, "Hey, shake the
Mm.
thing, see if I'm man enough to throw you out the window, or you're man enough to throw me out." All
Mhm.
that stuff is good in the moment, but I don't
Mhm.
really see it as. I see how it tangentially affects him and how he sees Billy Batson, but overall, I'm just like, you would still just be pissed that anyone got it other than you. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing really particular about your two stories that like made it so it was always going to be you two faces. The movie actually goes out of its way to be like to show you that the villain was there first and
Mhm.
then like got rejected. So like it literally could be anyone. So I don't need all the list of all the other people and all his searching. I
Mhm.
just like, yeah, I would just assume he was doing that until Shazam shows up and he's like, all right, fuck him, I'm gonna go get him.
Yeah. It didn't need the monsters being like, no, you got to do this, or like, there's one more powerful than you. And it would, because to me, it wasn't his
Yeah, they don't
thing.
need the
Wasn't
monsters
about.
telling him that. I just feel like he would feel that way regardless.
I agree. I'm just like, if this is power corrupting and like power hungry and all those kind of evil sins that we're talking about, I'm like, yeah, we would naturally conclude that he would want to challenge someone more powerful, and henceforth in that kind of realm of being in Philadelphia and the news reports and going viral and all that kind of stuff, it would make sense naturally. I didn't understand why the monsters were like, oh yeah, there's one more powerful, go get at him. There's just no point
Yeah.
to it. It was
Well,
just
I
like,
mean,
you got your dad,
there
you
is a
got
point to it.
that
It's
done.
just it didn't
Yeah.
matter because we already knew that he wanted the power. Like
Yeah.
they it's too the sins want the power, he wants the power, so I don't really they don't it could be more of like a symbiote thing, like
Yeah.
a Eddie Brock and thing, or Cassidy, like Cletus Cassidy and
Mhm.
Carnage, like that they're like so powerful because they are so aligned in what they want to do.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, you don't need it to be like, oh man, he's like these voices are talking to him. It's like, I think he just wants this anyway. I don't really
True.
like that makes sense to me that he got a taste of it and then wanted to go back to like feeling that.
Yeah. He's
Like
like, oh, I could get
that would
more
be an
powerful.
obsession for him, like because of how powerless he feels in the like presence of his father and brother.
Mhm.
Like it just would make sense that he'd be like, no, I need that back. I'm going back there. It's not really
I
the
agree.
sins pushing him to do it.
Yeah, because even when he steps to it, I like that part where in the car, like the kid actor is like, no, let me back in, like I want
Mhm.
it. And, like
He
it's,
had a taste and he wants it
yeah,
back.
it's a very clear drive. I'm like, this is great. I legitimately thought the dad died though after that car crash.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, but I guess I remembered him in the boardroom, but I was just
Right.
like, is he dead? Oh, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. That's how I felt
The
too.
movie will tell me. I'll be
It-
fine.
we'll get there eventually, but yeah, I genuinely thought he died and was carrying around that guilt. Like after a while, I'm like, oh, he didn't die. He lost his legs, and you're carrying around that guilt, which is significant. But at the end of the day, I'm like, he doesn't really.
Does he have guilt? I feel like it's more like I wish he died.
It's more like a hatred,
Yeah.
like a guilt turned into hatred, whatever it might be. But either way, I'm just like, yeah, everyone's coming down hard on him. I get why he would be evil at that point. I'm like, they
Yeah, like
very
I
clear
feel like
job.
the movie shows you like
Yeah,
he's just evil. He doesn't need the seven sins. The only thing that's
Mhm.
interesting about that is that they are powering him.
I
So
agree.
like when Shazam does that, because I thought that was effective the first time he goes to punch Dr. Sylvana and he catches it. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, like it's in the trailer already, so we've already seen it, but it's still like was effective during revisit because then they match that again when Shazam is able to do it to him. So it shows how much he's grown into the role. But like,
Mhm.
it, yeah, it's just like I don't really I think I forgot that they were in him even. Like I think at one
Yeah,
point when they were like when they came out of him, I'm like, oh right, yeah. That's and I guess that's what I mean is that I wasn't really like in on the villain's journey.
I wasn't. Well, I mean, the villain's journey was just I wasn't in on it just because it's so much more clear, right? In Billy's journey, his journey is more about getting the mom back, and when that journey doesn't go the way he wants it to, which is, I'm like, yeah, this is. I'm glad he got that closure, I guess, but it bothers me that he arrives at the conclusion where he's like, yeah, this is my family at the end of this movie. We spend the second movie basically. I mean, I know we're talking about this movie, but it's just like it, and we brought this up in that episode. But the fact he basically we have to retread that territory. And
I
again,
think
in
you
that
talked
movie,
me
not
out of it. You said no, it's because he knows he's gonna get kicked out at 18, or he thinks he'll be kicked
well,
out.
yeah, that's his driving force. But I mean, like the idea of like it's just the same territory again. There's a different driving force. I get that, but
Oh no, yeah,
this
I
is acceptance
disagree.
versus leaving.
And you were the one that made me disagree that it's the same thing.
Right. But there are feel like, yeah, I do like how in the second movie he's the one that's like insecure about everyone leaving, and this one he's like, I'm in, I don't want to be a part of this kind of deal. I like that continuation of this, but yeah, in this movie it's you. Do you want to know one actual thing that bothers me about this? The fact that they call it Philadelphia, and they make a point of being like, no, we don't have a New York. We have like either Gotham or Metropolis or however you want to call them. Like, why is Philadelphia here now and not like a different name for Philadelphia? That's what bothers me about Shazam. I don't know if I brought that up in the first episode, but it does bother me about this.
Yeah.
Why?
What bothers me is that he never has a name in the movie. It felt like very 90s.
Here's the thing.
He's not gonna have a name. They're gonna call him stupid things throughout it. I get that if he says it, he changes back and forth, but like I feel like it should still be an understanding that it's. I know that he gets it in the second movie when the wizard's like, "You've been saying it the whole time, you idiot." But like in this movie, I'm just like, they're really never gonna get to what his name is. This is stupid.
I feel like they did though, and I feel like I can't remember if I'm remembering it wrong, but I'm like, they do. The wizard does say my name.
He says say my name, which
right,
so me feel like
he doesn't infer like that. Oh, that's my. Fair enough. That okay, that's fair. But yeah,
no, the whole time is the running gag of we're workshopping the name, and I'm just like, just say the name. I don't know.
That did give me a couple of really good. This is where I'm having fun moment where it's like, they're gonna say the like, name, and it's like, no, Captain Sparklefingers. I'm like, that is great. I do love that.
Yeah, no, I can see it being like the Ant-Man thing where it's like, ugh, Shazam. Like, can we think of something better?
Yeah, it's like your budget Superman.
Like, well, maybe we should give you a name that won't turn you back and forth if you say it. Like, then you can still have the fun of workshopping names. But
I agree.
It's felt dumb. Too like 90s superhero movies where they're like still embarrassed by the concept, and they're like, well, we won't call it that. We'll just give them their name, like their government name from the comic books, so that we don't have to use like the weird superhero name.
Yeah. I hear what you mean. That part of it is strange, but I like some of the jokes that they get out of it, so I'll let that pass for me. Because
yeah,
Red Cyclone became like probably the best that they came up with.
Like that's already a superhero name, so
and that's what I mean. I'm like, that's because it's another hero or villain's name, and I'm like, okay, this is where it gets weird now because I'm like, are you making like? Is this an Easter egg or like what's going on there with your own universe? But either way, it comes from Freddy, and I do like Captain Sparklefingers.
Well, I feel like then that would mean that that they don't have a Red Cyclone because the whole point is Freddy's like the superhero encyclopedia.
Well, yes, it did. I mean,
so it
would be reasonable to understand that. Yeah, it'd be reasonable to assume that Red Cyclone's not there yet, given maybe they would have a Kryptonian kind of thing related to that, being that Red Cyclone's related to that kind of stuff. But either way, Superman does show up in this movie, so what do I know? Quote.
Yep. Yes.
I did an air quote thing.
He's in it. And
he's in it.
I'm sure people have seen the frantic video that Zachary Levi has about why it wasn't Henry Cavill. But
I feel like that didn't need further explanation. Like it's just like, okay, that's enough for it to be a gag for the character and us. This is great.
No, I mean, he shouldn't have said that name, but their stance was they did that on purpose. Whereas he's saying no, like we had no choice. We wanted him and we kept getting
Yeah.
blocked.
Yeah, I don't know why. Well, I mean, I get why, but
Well, yeah,
yeah.
we don't need to get into all that stuff. But yeah, this it's I already said it in the second when we talked about the second movie. I'm not a fan of the cut off head. I don't think you. I
I agree.
thought and when we first reviewed this movie, not revisited, I said what was interesting about it was that this could have been a new direction, like that they were
Mhm.
just like, yeah, like you watched Aquaman, Batman, Man of Steel, but now this is the new direction. So then to bring in the Superman felt like it was undercutting the whole like mythos of the, not mythos, but like just the energy of the movie, which was like
Mhm.
we can do our own thing over here. We don't need those people because
Yes.
it's like this is the Shazam family.
Mhm.
We could have many movies without people ever thinking like, oh well, where's like more heroes because there's like 6 of
Mhm.
them. So like I thought that even just it was probably a sign that they kept getting the block from whoever was blocking them
Mhm.
from getting Henry Cavill, because it should have been like, yeah, you know what, that's a good point, we should just do our own thing because he
Mhm.
is the hero for this universe. We don't need the validation of the other stuff we did.
Mhm. Because gotta be honest, just having the Shazam character there would have been fulfilling that role.
Well, that's like
Finally,
that's actually Freddy's family, so to like be
exactly.
able to be like, oh yeah, Shazam's here,
That
like
would
the
have
new
been
hero,
meaningful. Yeah,
that would have been enough. Like people wouldn't have been like, it's not Superman, no. Like they would have been
yeah,
like, oh, you brought a superhero to school.
yeah. I think that would have been completely. I completely agree with you on that. It's just like, yeah, it's a nice gag, not
Yeah.
because it undercuts the tone of its own movie. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that what the movie did have, I guess that's why I don't feel as like big on it, even as when we first saw it, is that like I
Mhm.
saw where this all landed, but like initially I was like, oh, cool. Like I wasn't thinking the DCE was dead, but I was like, okay, yeah, this could just be its own thing. Like
Yep.
they don't need to worry about the other people.
Mhm.
And then they were like, no, 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 please, let us in, let us
We're
in.
gonna do this.
We're doing Superman. I'm like, again, like how that wasn't like a Black Adam postcard. And I, yes, we're all aware of all the talk of what Dwayne the Rock Johnson did and didn't do and let happen and didn't let happen. But like, let's ignore all that and just say like it very objectively feels like your post credit at least would be a Black Adam challenging him. Like, are
I
you
agree.
like that's what makes sense.
Yes, because I'm like, okay, that would actually get me excited for it in the sense where I'm like, yeah, okay, this movie, we get it, training wheels, getting the family together, great, well
All
done.
right, now you have to
Yes,
face someone who actually
we're
has the powers you have. Like,
exactly, we're getting to the entree. Yeah, okay, I'm excited for this. This would be actually interesting to me because it's just like this is what I know Shazam to be. So I'm just
mhm.
like, I don't I don't care about anything else. I want this, and we're not
um,
going to get it, and that bothers me.
another thing I
Because they
said
could have
when we, oh, sorry,
because they could have said like, yeah, we wanted Shazam to have his own movie so we get to know him before we get to the Shazam Black Adam showdown. At that point I've been like, yeah, you successfully did that because I didn't care about the villain in this, so we did
hmm
get to know Shazam very well, and you would have been that would have been great to do with the sequel, but lo and behold, this is what we got.
yeah. Uh, another thing I said during the second movie review was that I thought they were being a bit harsh on him in terms of saying he's an idiot and he doesn't have the like smarts of Solomon or wisdom of Solomon or whatever it was.
Oh, this is Billy.
And yeah, and I was like
Yeah,
rewatching. I was like, I guess he is an idiot. Like nothing he does is particularly clever, other than getting the sins out of him and like
right.
talking shit showed that he clearly understood the situation and knew how to operate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just chalk that up to like, yeah, whatever. Like that's just in the heat of the moment. They don't have to really carry that over as to him being truly smart.
Mm-hmm.
But I will retract my initial thing. Like, no, he was like crafty as Billy, and I'm like, no, I guess watching this, he's just an idiot, and like he got
Yeah,
away with things, but he wasn't particularly crafty or smart.
I I would agree with you on that. I'm like, no, this is not he's not good at these things. He's just
No, he just runs, which
he's
is not the same as outsmarting people. Like,
Yeah.
he just runs, and like even the decision to like steal that cop's lunch, I was like, yeah, I guess he's just an idiot. But
Yeah.
again, that still plays to me that he would turn into a Zachary Levi.
I
Like,
agree.
be just as like childish and reckless.
Yeah, because I mean, like, the thing that's weird to me is like it's not like he gets all the powers of Shazam. He just like he's the pure of heart one, I guess. And because that's what he's looking for. I need a champion that's pure of heart. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess you have that, but I mean, he's pretty dumb outside of that. And that's what makes it not so interesting. And Freddy, I'm like, I don't really necessarily see him as wisdom, but I do see him as like geek and all that kind of stuff. But it's yeah, I would have yeah. It's like I just it always just weirdly struggles. I'm like, yeah, why did they choose him? Because it didn't make clear that it was like it's because you
No,
stood up for your friend.
not why did they choose him? Like, I
Yeah,
get, as I said, the movie did a fine enough job. Like, the
yeah.
wizard is like, whatever, I need somebody. Oh, this
Because
kid,
yeah, it's on the wizard. He stalled.
this kid's nice. In this moment,
He did what his
like,
other brothers and sisters did at that time because they all were like, "Hey, don't do that." They just didn't physically intervene, but they
yeah,
all
they
were
were
like
just like,
protesting
no,
it.
no, stop, please, and he stepped in. I get it. He took the he did that. I
He
also
did the
thought he
physical
was
assault. Yeah,
he certainly did the physical assault. Um, yeah, I like Darla again in this. I think I always liked Darla, but like I liked
yeah.
that runner of like a good sister would keep this secret, and then like how
Mm-hmm.
happy she was when she's like, "Oh my, thank goodness you guys figured it out. I didn't say anything. I am a good sister." Excellent. I was really happy for her. I was like, "Good for you, Darla. You need a
Yeah.
win too."
I feel like if anything, Darla is the pure of heart person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but also she's like,
She's
I can
obviously
see why
way,
she wouldn't
way,
show
way
up on the
young,
yeah,
but
she
like,
wouldn't show
I
up on
mean,
the wizard's radar. But yeah,
given I well, assuming that the rate like if the wizard had, let's say, 8 to 10 more years, probably
she would have. Yeah,
she would have like been a better case of pure of heart than Billy because Billy's just like, no, I want to find my mom and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I get that, but I
I
mean,
think
like, that doesn't
I don't
really
even know
scream
if it
pure of
was
heart
like,
to me.
I don't even know if it was like he got it because he's pure for. I think it was just like that was an act of heroism and he got
Well,
picked.
I agree that I just keep going back to the words they use as pure of heart, which is why I'm
Yeah,
like,
but
yeah,
when
okay,
the
well, I get
wizard
why he
says,
would
he's
be a
like, I
dummy
just mean
then.
anyone at this point. When
Yeah.
the initially he's got actual standards, but they're
Mhm.
showing you that he just threw that out the window and he's like, just anyone, honestly, at this point.
Mhm. I do think it's funny that like saying Shazam gives him all the powers of all those gods, but without the actual wisdom of Solomon. Because I'm like,
Or
he's
maybe
still
it's just
pretty dumb.
he's smarter than he would have been.
Yikes. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that there's something. I guess if you're amplifying a whole lot of nothing, it's still by 1,000 times. It's still
I
a
mean,
whole lot
yeah,
of
like
nothing by a
to be
thousand
clear,
times.
like what's he well, I don't feel like the math really works on this because I feel like at one point they said he was like 15. Maybe he was turning 16 and 15. But I
Something like
think in the
that.
movie they say he's 15, but then
I hear 15
oh
too,
no,
or
wait,
like
I think they said
14.
14. They said
Yeah.
14, meaning he must have been turning 15, meaning that's the 2 years is him 17 turning 18.
Yes.
But anyway, I think that if he's 14 or 15, yeah, like you're not you're not actually smart then. Like
No.
you're a big dumbass there.
Yeah. Like,
And the idea would be that it would have gone to an adult, not a kid.
yes. And to be clear, I feel like the majority are just dumbasses, but there is some exceptions. Obviously, we're
Oh yeah.
acknowledging some, but he is clearly not one of them. He's dumbass. He's 14. He plays the role well,
Yeah.
but like, that's it. He's just dumb and a 14-year-old. I'm like, there's not much more there.
He's
But
yeah, I think well they definitely give him more to do in this movie, which makes sense. It's the first movie. You need to
yeah.
like truly understand Billy.
Mhm.
Which I guess people don't because they still criticize the difference in performances. But I feel like the movie actually does a good job of
Yeah.
showing you where he's at mentally and why it would make sense that he would be the way he is when he has the powers.
I completely agree. I mean, just like, I really don't like when people are like, why are they expecting him to mature too? I mean, like, if he just was smart, if he knew things but didn't know what to do with it, I'm like, that'd be funny because he's still dumb, but has all that wisdom, right?
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, he's a little kid and he just has all this stuff. Like the movie again does a good job of being like, he is freaked out right now, and the only
Yes.
reason he's talking to Freddy is like, you know this shit, so just like
Mhm.
help talk me down.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because he's known Freddy for about like what, let's say a day or two, let's say a week
Yeah,
maybe,
because he
but
was
even
gonna
then,
just run away, and then he's like, well, this is the only person I know that can help me with this.
right, and he has a line where it's like, oh, I'm a loner or something like that, where it's like, like he says something like that to the degree. So I'm just like, yeah, he is desperate, he is
Yeah, I
scared.
even like that he gives the wrong advice to Mary when she's like crying about getting into university. He's like, families for people who don't know how to take care of themselves. Just,
Yeah.
like all of that on paper is interesting, that you would have such a flawed hero. He
Yes.
isn't saying the right things. He's clear. Like, I like the bus sequence in theory,
Mhm.
where he's like, I did it, and Freddy's like, what do you
Freddy,
mean?
you
You
caused
caused
it.
that problem.
Yeah, but I did
They
it.
could have been fine. Like, now they're
Yeah,
just traumatized.
it is in concept interesting, but it's not like at any point in this he has to rapidly mature or face those kind of things, right? And just
Well, he
like,
does once he gets, like, when he meets Sylvana, but I don't.
well,
As I
yes,
said, it's not really like,
but is
it
that
didn't feel like
maturing
that's
or
where we were going. Other than you
yeah?
need him to mature, but it really did feel like more about how he was going to relate to the family,
Mhm.
and less about, hey, is he going to be a good superhero? You're definitely, especially when you have the moment of like the mom being like, geez, you found me. I was really just trying to get away from you, if I'm being
Yeah, it's like,
honest.
yeah, I get them.
I thought you were gonna get the hint.
That's rough. That's
Yeah.
rough. And oh man, I do appreciate how the movie has like those two separate kind of flashbacks where it's like his rosy-eyed interpretation
Yeah.
of it as well, and then like what actually happens, like like her version where it's like I
I
was
love
17,
that
like
actress
I
does
just got
such a
kicked
great
out.
job
Yeah.
of like playing that scene again.
Hmm. I agree. She does a great job of like playing it over again. And I'm like, yeah, this is yikes. This is just, I don't know if it's maturing more or less of him just getting hit in the face with a whole bunch of reality very, very quickly. But it is, that's a gut wrenching scene. That the movie is successful in that because I do remember where it's just like, yeah, I remember how painful that scene was to watch, and
Mhm.
it lives up to it again. So
Yeah, I don't think that falter. I think
it's very well
that
done
works.
there for sure.
It's just it doesn't feel as connected to the Sylvana stuff. I understand they're both rejected
Mm-hmm.
by their parents. It's just, it feels like we could have weaved this in a bit more in terms of the villain and the good guy,
Yeah.
especially since they have so many similarities on paper. It's just when you're watching the movie, it feels like they're in two different movies until
Mm-hmm.
the Sylvana movie collides with the Shazam movie.
Yeah, I just feel like it's hard to have this connection with like or care about the conflict when it's just like ultimately we know you're fighting a kid, and that's what's like, there's no real connection there. Like I like in
Hey
one
man,
scene where it's just like, how is Freddy like friends with this older guy? Like, how are you two friends? Like, this is too weird kind of situation. It's just like, yeah, it's weird conceptually that you're 14, 15 years old, whatever he may be, but this is the guy that's beefing with him. I'm like, yeah, I don't care about this conflict. I just want him to lose because he's beefing after a 14-year-old kid that has these powers, yes, but still. I'm like,
Savannah. I keep
yeah.
saying Sylvana. It's Savannah. If anyone cares, if anyone was upset listening to this and listening to me say Sylvana, but yeah, I mean, it's Mark Strong. He fought
He does
Hit
well.
Girl and Kick Ass, and I'm used to him fighting kids. And it's not like he went into it knowing he was fighting kids. There's a
Right.
funny reveal where he's like, "Why are you acting like a teenager?" I am. I'm just a kid.
Yeah, he forgets that it's like, hey, the wizard was recruiting me as like 8 or something
Yeah,
like that. Whatever. Like, I like it's weird that he forgets it. It's like, wait, you were a kid when this happened. And like, he's like, yeah, logically, this would be the connection. Of like he's trying to find a kid. So it is weird that he doesn't make that connection, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the movie is what we got. I think people like it a lot. It's just I think both times I've revisited, because I've only seen it the three times. Like I saw it when we reviewed it the first time. I revisited it separately, and now we're doing it again. I think every time I've revisited it, I'm just like, this is a whole bunch of stuff that I don't care about, like throughout it, and I don't have to pay attention. Like I tried to pay attention this time for this discussion, but I'm just like, I'm just not into it if it's not about Billy and the family, because I really like the family. And that
Mhm.
includes when they turn into their superhero selves. But like I like all
Yes.
of that stuff. And I'm not really into the Savannah stuff.
I agree. I the whole stuff it because it feels like ultimately the struggle of the movie is him finding family versus him actually having to fight a superhero that's like doing whatever, right? It's just like this
Yeah.
the more interesting stuff about this movie is the family stuff to me. It's not the
And it
superhero stuff,
and that's
and
why
so
it
fitting
pays
a
off that
villain
he
is.
gives his family the powers, like as like
Yes,
something no one else did.
I agree.
Share the
Mhm.
power. Everyone was giving their powers away and stuff, but like he actually split it up with his family. But like that feels, again, completely isolated from what the villain taught him or did. I like forced him to do. It
Mhm.
was just like he probably, like, chances are he was going to make that decision always. Like
Probably.
considering they had that conversation with Freddy after the bus where he's like, "Oh, you're just jealous that you don't have the powers," and Freddy's like, "No, duh. Like, what do you what do you mean? You
Yeah.
think that's like you think you got me on that? Of course, I wish I had the powers."
I do love that response is so damned honest.
Yeah, he's like, "Yes, of course.
Like what?
Like I'm
What
invisible to
logically?
everybody. I would definitely love those powers."
And it's just like I like how emotional and again, Freddy, and I know we said this about the second movie. Like Freddy sells this movie to me a lot, and
Yeah,
him
he's a
being a
great
part of the
actor.
family
He's so
as
good.
well as like the parents in this. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but
Hmm.
the that scene alone, I'm just like how he's like, yeah, how people. I'm worse than invisible because people want to pretend like they don't see
Yeah,
me
like
and all
they
this kind of
actively
stuff.
want me to be invisible,
Yeah, and I
not
like
just that they don't notice me.
yeah, and I like how he's like you're doing right now, and I'm like,
Hmm.
wow, that's good stuff, kid. That really, you got some feels
Yeah,
there for
I would
sure.
say this movie probably, and I don't mean like feel good stuff, but I feel like this movie does do the more heart, like, and when I mean heart, I mean stuff like that, like actually emotionally engaging you in the scenes, like
Yes.
what Freddy and Shazam or whatever Billy are talking about.
Yeah.
The mom scene, like even I think for that first scene with Savannah, you do feel for him as that kid in the car with like his bullshit dad and brother like picking on him. Like
100%.
I feel like you're right away like emotionally engaged in that.
Uh-huh.
Um, I
100%.
just
Like I said,
yeah.
I identify with that a lot. It's just
Mhm.
the idea of, and I think like because the dad says immediately before they get his, like, you could have killed us. And then I'm like, yeah, that would really, that would really, I'm all in on that character. But
Mhm.
I'm just like, wait, this is the character you're not. Oh, that's all the writing you're going to do for him. Okay. This is rough now. I'm like, why would they
Yeah.
lead with that?
Yeah,
It's,
I remember first watching the movie. I'm like, this seems like the wrong time, like because I thought they were doing like, oh, this is how Billy becomes an orphan or something, and then I was like,
Mhm.
wait, what? Who are these? And then I was like, oh, this is the bad guy story.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like,
And to start with him, you clearly are implying like this is someone who you'll see as similar to Billy. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's similar because they both met the wizard and were rejected by their parents, but not, I mean, that's, I'm not saying that's nothing, but it also isn't a lot. Like, it isn't a lot considering how the movie actually plays out.
right. I do honestly wish that it's a reveal that you find out that he was almost chosen one time, as
Mhm.
opposed to what actually happens linearly with this movie and chronologically with this movie. I'm like, well, that sucks a little bit more. Because like the allure mystery of like why is he going after Shazam? Like that would be kind of interesting to me. But now it's just
I
like
mean, it worked in Captain America: First Avenger, where you're like, oh, the Red Skull being like, hey, fuck you. Why did you get to like it worked on you? I don't know. I'm not into this at all. Like, I
Well,
feel like you could have gone that route with this too. Like, just that way it would be, because I get the sense that he's just like, I feel like you've hinted at this many times already
mhm,
during this episode, but he's kind of just like, well, I'm just here to challenge the next most powerful person instead of,
yes.
again, that emotional engagement of like, you have what I want and have wanted since that night
Mhm,
in the thing. Like, he's just kind of like, and I know that it's there, but like, to announce like, okay, champion, let's give me your powers. It doesn't feel like he is emotionally and grounded in that like seething hate that he had for his, rightfully so, for his
mhm,
father and brother. Like, I feel
mhm,
like he should have that and that the more they encounter each other, the more upsetting it would be how like Shazam is so stupid and doesn't match up to what he needed to match up to, and
mhm.
why he got dismissed.
I I couldn't agree with you more on that. It's the idea of like there's no arc in the villain's story that actually makes it interesting in the sense where it's like, oh, if he realized like, oh, this is what I needed to be worthy of the power, cool. But he just like, no, none of that. It's just, he gets
Well, because
rejected,
there
finds his
is
way
nothing
back,
for
he's
him to
successful.
realize.
There's nothing to realize. There's nothing to do. And I'm just like, and that's why I'm like, yeah, I don't connect with the character at all. I'm just like, this is the greatest, and that's why I'm like purposefully, I'm like, yeah, the car scene is definitely the most interesting writing, and I'm like, that's why I'm like, why did they put it for him there? It's weird. It's so weird. I
I
wish it
mean,
was
yeah,
more toward second, third act kind of reveal, but hey, they did what they did.
yeah,
And that's kind of why I don't like it because I feel like they're showing their cards the whole time. And I'm like, oh yeah, by the time we see them again, I'm like, oh yeah, of course
yeah.
we get why you would want the cowards. This is too clear to us. You're serving everything
Maybe that's what I've been
to us.
failing to communicate. But what
Mm,
you just said is that like the movie is structured in a way where you're or like ahead of it in the sense that you're like you see that and then you're like, oh, okay, well then I guess yeah, he would be pissed that Shazam got it.
yeah.
And then you're watching Shazam get it, or sorry, you're watching Billy get it, and you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, so when's Sylvana gonna see that and be like, what the hell? He gave it to this stupid kid, but
Mhm,
that's not really how it plays out. So you're kind of like hoping the movie catches up with you on, or that's how I feel anyway. That like you've seen all of this, so you feel like, or again, I'll just use myself. I feel like the next logical step is his resentment of, yeah, he broke the rules and he took the thing from Charlie's Chocolate Factory or whatever, but like he didn't like he didn't, it doesn't seem like that factors into his anger. It
I
just
agree.
seems like he's just like, whatever, like this guy's got it, now I'll get it.
Yeah, it's just like cool. I'm strong now. I got the power that I wanted because remember how he's like, well, even to the wizard, he's like, well, do you know what it's like to be told as a kid that you're not worthy? And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you're getting it out. This is
Yeah.
great therapy for you. And he's like, well, I don't want to be your champion. And I'm like, well, this took a weird turn. He grabs the other thing. Then I'm like, wait, what? This is weird. Like, why would you say you don't want to be, but you've been searching for it? Like, it all just, we have so much information that the main character needs that there's no like yeah, I feel like I'm waiting for the movie to play catch up to the information that we know,
That it,
and that
yeah, like,
sucks.
yeah, I think, yeah, thank you for helping me find that. I think that's what I feel like. I'm waiting for the movie to catch up to
Mm,
where I am in parts, not everything about it, but it's, yeah, even with it being undoubtedly a better made movie, and I think I say that in terms of like the care put into some of the scenes and
mhm,
like versus, and maybe I'll even just seeing like, I do feel like Toronto is a better stand-in for Philadelphia. Like,
mhm.
obviously we know it's filmed in Toronto and I think
Yep.
parts of Hamilton, but like I feel like the second movie was just filmed in LA and you kind of lose that groundedness even in the second movie.
Mhm.
Um
I agree. There's no groundedness in the second movie. It's all fun because even like they spend zero time with Billy in the second movie,
yeah.
and it's all the time with Shazam himself. So it's just like Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
this is
maybe this. I mean, yeah, maybe the second movie needed more Billy, not
oh,
just
I definitely
Shazam and
think it
him.
needed
But
more Billy.
having said all that, I still enjoyed it more. Maybe I won't the second when I revisit it, but in after revisiting this, I was still like, I can't get there in terms of liking it more than the second one, even though I can point out all the faults of the second one.
Mhm.
But for me, it was at least the fun of revisiting the characters I did like from the first movie and having them be able to do more as well.
Yes. And I like that each one had their own thing. They were more established, all that kind of stuff. Like every aspect of that. I'm like, yeah, cool. This is legitimately fun. It's 2 years later, and
Mhm.
Philadelphia sees them as fiascos. And I'm
Yeah,
like, that's hilarious to me. This is really, really good stuff.
and I feel like that's planted in this movie. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm gonna give another compliment to the way the franchise built out, is that like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, they are helping. There's no doubt about it. They are saving lives, but they are causing a lot of damage,
Mm-hmm.
and they are pretty like flippant about how they do things.
Yeah, and they
They're
literally turn
kids.
themselves into a meme. They
Yeah.
they it's just like, wait, at no point does someone go like, oh, we're gonna just try to find the IP address of who uploaded these. Because it's all from
Yeah.
one account and one
Right.
one device. And I'm like, this is stupid at this point. I'm like, well, I guess realistically, that's how they got the Amanda Waller stuff going in for where the post
Oh,
credit scene
okay.
goes
Yeah.
for the second one. But like the idea of like, yeah, this is how they found out who he is. That makes sense because they are stupid kids that uploaded it from a
Yeah.
to YouTube with their one
That makes
account.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious, but it is what
Um,
it is. That's why I
okay.
question the wisdom of Solomon.
The
The
parents. Yeah,
parents,
they're great. As
they are
soon as you meet
fantastic.
them, you're just like, I just really was on board with them. Like they're like, we get
Yes.
it. Don't worry. Take this at your own time.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
That's why I'm gonna give another compliment to Freddie, where he's like, "Don't trust them." He pushed me out the window. It gets real Game of Thrones here. They're really, and I was just like, "No!" And like, obviously, it's in the trailer, so you know that it's not real. But like the movie's like playing with your expectations of them because it's like, are they really that nice? Seems like they can't be all that nice. But then you see
Mhm.
how happy all the kids are, so obviously you can trust that they are really that nice.
Yeah. I love everything about them. I love the dad most of all and his parenting style and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. Because everything was like he was so understanding and when he was assertive, it was just like the silence and all that kind of I'm like, he's not threatening. He's just like you can tell that this is a person that's like embodies the I'm not mad, I'm disappointed kind of guy.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
that
great.
it is
He does such
important
a
that
good
they were
job.
also foster kids so that they
Yeah.
would know like what
And
these kids are going through exactly and how they would want to feel at the very least. Obviously, not everything you can't be like one size fits all, but they can at least be like, I mean, how would I want to have been treated in these situations? And that would probably go a lot longer, a lot
absolutely.
longer.
Yeah, because I do like that in the sense where I'm like, okay, the movie goes to show you that yes, this is a family that chooses to be together as opposed to the biological mom, having made a choice to not be together with her
Mm-hmm.
son. So I'm like, I like that they do that, and I like the fact that he's coming from it as like, hey, we ran away our fair share of times. Like, we get this, we get
Yeah.
it. We were safe too, and look how we turned out. And I'm like, yeah, you turned out great. This is everything about these two parents are amazing. Like the mom being genuine concerned, of like, where is he? And her being like, we're not doing enough. I'm like, yeah, she's really doing a good job selling that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Parents are doing a bang up job.
it's such an interesting like, and it's not like because I would say like another nurturing is would be like Aunt May, like parent figure, and
Yes.
like I want to say they're better than that because like there's no like guilt there for anybody
Mm,
realistically. Like I feel like sometimes she does guilt things, not so much the Marissa Tomei Aunt May, but the other Aunt Mays.
right.
I felt like did operated more on the guilt and the like how frail they are. So like they could be I guess now I'm just thinking about the Rosemary Harris one. She could potentially be in trouble and you'd have to save her. That's not
Right.
really the case with these parents. Like if they're in danger,
No.
it's because they tagged along, not because like the villains know who they are and they're gonna capture them or whatever. It's just like
Hmm.
they're just this supportive system in our hero's life, and I like that it's not intrusive. It's not like something where you're like, oh, get them out of here or whatever. Like they'll never
Mhm.
understand. You're just like, wow, like what this is what will help him become a better hero. Like having this influence in his life.
Yeah, having this family support system, all this kind of stuff that he and I do like that we spend the whole movie like trying to, from his perspective, understand like why he's not going into the hug, like quite
Yeah,
literally with Darla and all that kind of stuff. Like they're all open arms,
but I also
wanting
like
him
that
in and
he
all that
was
kind of
like
stuff.
he felt bad when he hurt her feelings. Like I thought that
Oh
was
yeah,
also another important part of his character was that like
yeah,
there's like I wasn't trying to hurt her, and Freddie's not trying to guilt him either. Freddie's like, yeah, don't
yeah.
worry
Just
about it. Like
let me take care of this. I
I
agree
get it, but like
because
I thought that was really nice that he's like, you don't have to hug me. We're not actually, and like immediately understanding what he did to her and like
yeah,
like the rejection that he wouldn't want. So like I thought that was really nice. Like he did
yeah.
the wrong
Like
thing, but it's not like he was oblivious to it. He wasn't like, what's the big deal?
he successfully sells what a 14-year-old kid would do at that situation of awkwardly be like, you're making me look stupid right now, and being like, oh shit, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Like
Yeah,
I get that. Like, and he does a very, very good job. Like they both do good jobs. I'm like, that's why it bothers me. I'm like, we don't get more time with Billy Batson in the second movie. But I mean, this is about this movie, and every time we do spend with Billy, I'm like, it's successful, but
I think
it's
it's yeah. I think
I'm on
the
board for family
friendship
stuff.
between him and Freddie, as Billy and Freddie, is
Mhm.
interesting. Obviously, you see a lot more of Shazam and Freddie, and
Mhm.
I like that turns because there's the scene on the Rocky Steps where he's like, "Oh, like I like hanging out with you like this because now you're not a dick."
Yeah,
And then I think it is again on the Rocky Steps where he's like, "No, like I can't look at you like this. Like you're the dick,
it
not
is.
Billy."
It is. He's basically busking and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
I like
He's
how
doing
it
the
brings
let
that
me
full
with my
circle.
hands thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it seems like a more thought was put into this movie, making it objectively a better movie. But
Mhm.
um, I'm acknowledging all of these good things and still being like, sorry, but I still had more fun with the second one.
Yeah, it, and I get it. It's just like this is Billy's story is traumatic. It's
Hmm.
and that's why you would get to say like you have more fun with the second one. Because even I like how in the second one the pediatrician goes like, okay, that's not a little bit of trauma.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
lot of trauma. And I'm like, yeah, that's why this movie is a little bit like bummy because I'm like you're just and I think you even alluded to this, the idea of like, even though they're a foster family, like you're kind of like not expecting them to be good, and you're kind of like on the fence of who they actually are, and they really have
Yeah.
to
Like what's gonna
go,
happen here to screw them
yeah,
over?
yeah, because it's like immediate and like they have to sell us on like, no, they're genuinely kind and empathetic people here that they want to just help other people. This is a great situation for them. Um, all of it is really, really good stuff. I feel it's just the second one is just more exciting. It's just more exciting. You have a
Yeah.
dragon in
I
there.
mean, something
You
tells me
have
I'll rewatch it and be like, whatever. But I had a good time with it, and this movie I already knew like the first time I tried to revisit it, I completely like checked out. And this time I was more aware of what was going on because I knew I would have to speak to it, but it was still like really making me work for this. I'm not I'm just not having as much fun, even though I'm able to pick out the strong parts of this script or and certain scenes as well, how they're acted
yeah.
out, how they're executed.
Yeah, and to me it's weird because I feel like both movies suffer from an issue of compartmentalization, but
Yeah,
in
probably.
different ways. Like in this movie, things are great compartmentalized apart, but not together cohesively. Well, I mean, sorry, and there's more cohesive, more well-rounded characters. In the second movie, all the characters are very, very one-dimensional and very compartmentalized that way. And I'm like, damn it, this is you're losing the dimension of the characters and all that kind of stuff. And it bothers me. And I'm like, everything's just more straightforward there. But now I'm like, it's genuinely interesting to me to be like, yep, you lost your mom or you got rejected by your mom like real time. The worst thing that you wanted happened.
Hmm.
And it was your adoptive family that was supportive enough to be like, here, go to your real mom, reject us, even though we're trying to hug you. Like, this is interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It's really interesting stuff. But again, that's compartmentalized from the whole, like, oh, this is a superhero film thing.
Yes, I would agree because it didn't have to be. Like it's, as I said, they end up where you would emotionally feel they would, which is
Mm-hmm.
his embracing of family actually leads to him being able to embrace the foster family as part of
Mm-hmm.
his like superheroing as well, and he brings them into that world instead of doing what we talked about not liking for other heroes. We're like, I can't let them know, or else
Mm-hmm.
my biggest villains would know. He's just like, why wouldn't I share this with you guys? Like, I get that in the moment it's they're in a pickle, but I think that if I'm to believe the second movie, the point is that he was always going to come to that conclusion, and that is what made him different and special.
I agree. I agree. It's just like, yeah, but, and that is true. The idea of like, okay, power being shared versus power being amassed,
Mm-hmm.
very, very clear to like lines here. Like that's very, very clear. And I really, really like that of the good versus bad kind of thing. It's very just obvious. And I'm like, great, cool. You did it. Good for you. You did
But yeah, but that's what I mean by like it didn't have to be compartment. But then they were like, but it's more about like he didn't give it to the bad guy.
Yep. And I'm just like, and then after you shared it, you only shared it with the people that you wanted. You broke the means of sharing it with other people. It's not like everyone gets superhero powers. It's still nepotism, baby.
Well,
Good
yeah,
times.
I mean, yeah, you don't want to give everyone powers.
No, you can't.
He knew that family. He knew they were their hearts were in the right place.
Yeah. No, I'm just being silly at this point because, yeah, I think this movie is successful in separate areas. It's just like together as a superhero story. To me, I feel it would be more successful if I cared more about the character of Shazam. That's just straight
Oh,
up it.
Shazam! Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say Savannah.
No, no, just like Shazam, his character, his rogues gallery, and all that kind of stuff.
I
To
see what
me,
you're
that would
saying.
be
You're not
build
talking
more
about the
hype
movie.
and
You're just saying in general you don't care
in
about Shazam. Got it.
correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Got it.
And then of course, and the only thing that would have led me on board is like you said earlier, like give me the one thing that I know about Shazam.
Yeah.
Shazam versus Black Adam. That's what I know. And that he's a kid. And give me more of those jokes. But Shazam versus Black Adam. Tell me that's on the way. Because I get why this version of Shazam wouldn't be able to fight Black Adam. Like
Well,
successful in that kind of idea. But like second one, no, give me Black Adam. I don't have the confidence you're gonna go for 3.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get a Zachary Levi led third Shazam movie.
Probably not.
But
Probably so. Like they said, this kind of does exist in its own universe, but then they pull it right back.
yeah. Well, I mean it's an interesting movie. I wish, as you said, it suffers from it kind of just maybe not better than the sum of its parts. I think there's
Mhm.
just a bunch of nice parts that don't, for me, fully gel together to make something really great.
Yep, I would agree with that.
So should we?
Oh, we're rating time.
I don't know. Are you down to rate it now?
I'm down to rate this thing.
Okay.
This is
Let's
this is 6.5 territory for me.
6.5 territory. I'm at a 7 because I think I gave the sequel 7.5. This is a 7 for me because I see what's good about it. It just didn't like get over the hump for me.
But I do like that we both like, hey, here are our biases.
Yeah,
Because that fully allows us to be
it's
like, yeah,
very important
objectively,
that
that's why
people
we like the second one better. Because
yes,
I
it's
will
very
keep
important
saying
for
this:
people to realize that.
dragons. The
I mean,
dragon
the
is
dragons wasn't for me.
objectively.
I keep forgetting there's a dragon in that movie, but to
Oh
me,
no,
it
I
was
was all
just
in
like
on the dragon.
we don't have to worry about the whole uh origin story. We can just have fun right away.
I yeah, that very much that. But to me, I'm like, no, whenever I see a dragon, I'm genuinely happy. And like, to me, this was a very, very good dragon.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the second movie, but you can listen to our episode on that. What was that?
Yeah.
235?
Go listen to that, baby.
Episode 235 is the second Shazam movie, which I never remember the name. Is it Fury of the Gods?
Fury of the Gods.
Excellent. Well, this was
one's
Shazam.
just Shazam.
Exclamation mark. Just Shazam.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish I liked it more during the rewatch, but here we are. I think I like it the same as I once did. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 7. Maybe I gave it a 7.5 last time. I don't know, but it's a 7.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a success in the sense where the movie is the exact same as when we left off. Like, there are some movies where I definitely remember like revisiting Black Widow. I'm like, yeah, that fell off me very hard. That was a completely different movie to me rewatching it versus the first time around. Versus this one, I'm like, no, I don't know if it's a good thing if it's nice and reliable.
Yeah, I don't know if you even really liked it the first time. I just remember you, because it was like back to back with Captain Marvel, and you were really high on Captain Marvel, which people can listen to that revisit. You're not so high on it anymore.
Nope. But that's another one where I fell off hard.
That was what's interesting, is remembering what you gave Captain Marvel on the revisit, and this got a higher mark.
Yes.
So you've switched. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, by the way. That's not what I'm pointing out. I'm just to your point. Movies hit you differently different times you watch them.
I agree. Yeah, that's entirely it. Like, and that's what it is. It's just different point in my life. Sometimes, like, that's why, like these kids, you try beer the first time, you're not gonna like it.
Yeah, they did not.
I remember the first time I tasted beer, it was gross.
Yes, 100%.
It's like, now I haven't been drinking for a while, so whenever I do drink it, it's like, oh yeah. I'm not saying it's gross, but I'm like, this isn't exactly pleasant either. It's not bubble tea. Bubble tea is pleasant.
Bubble tea is gonna be pleasant every time.
Yeah, it's an experience. I agree. And only recently I found, I'm like, oh yeah, you can't have alcoholic bubble tea.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
There you go. So I'm not saying I don't enjoy beer, but step it up.
Yeah, if you can learn anything. This movie, like Shazam, was a lot like beer. We saw it the first time, we were like, not so much. And then we tried it different times. We spent some time away from it. We came back and we're like, meh, still not that pleasant.
That's right.
Get a bubble tea.
That's right. I would much rather spend $7 on a bubble tea.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We are part of the That Shelf Podcast Network with other great shows like Bad Gay Movies, Black Old Films, Contra Zoom Pod. Boy, you know what? I didn't look it up, so I'm just gonna go again with Springfield Google Docs. Sorry, it's the Simpsons podcast. But yeah, we got great shows, so please go to thatshelf.com. You'll find those shows, our show, and more shows. We are on our own website, which is tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten, where you can find much older episodes of the show, and our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter and Instagram @tdfspoiled. We're on all the podcasts platforms. Just try and find one we're not on. I dare you.
We dare you.
So please go rate, review, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, do all that great stuff. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another episode. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.